evening all, welcome to some more tactics. Right, we're calling this rather affectionately dropped shits. I don't know why, I think it's just drop shipping at the moment. I think seems to be one of the most challenging things you can do. And, contrary to the popular myth that I just generally run whatever's OP at the moment, because lol flaylocks, I still run them. We're running dropships because they are pretty much quite a challenge, and I thought I'd bring you some footage really because you can have some real fun with them. And I think that, when it comes to tactics, what I would say here, this is a great example of a match which we win. So again, it's another victory. Oh, I know, but I thought it was good to show because it's where I think a really good, well-rounded team benefit from having a dropship. And we'll certainly show you that as we go through this. But it's a funny thing. Dropships, I think, have been the draw and the thing that keeps me in this game all this time. I love tanks, always liked tanks, but they never inspired me to come into the game. What always inspired me was when I saw the dropships, just how amazing they looked. And I think that is why I'm really quite keen to start using them again, even though they're very difficult to use, very likely to be shot down by a red line railgun tank militia, and you're just kind of asking for trouble if you use one. But to be honest with you, I had a row of games tonight, maybe 5-6 games, and I must admit every single one of them I drop shipped. And I had fun doing it. It was actually really good fun, to be honest with you. So keen to show you some of the things that I do. Now, I can never do justice to a dropship in terms of telling you how to do it or what to do with it. So I would highly recommend you check out Judge Redamanthus's channel for that, okay? Only because I'm just not going to waste my time doing a video where I talk about the maneuvers, the fittings, etc. In any more depth than we would generally do anyway. So I think if you really are interested in taking up drop shipping, or if you do drop shipping, then I think there's a lot better resources out there for you. So today really it's going to be about the wider gang. So what generally we found was having a dropship in the air is obviously a great magnate. So one of the key things we're doing here is we had Del Boy in his tank, and with me in the air, pretty much I'm able to call out to him whenever things were sneaking up on him or vice versa. And it was a really good combo, because I think having a dropship in the air really does give you the eyes on the map. If you remember the old, you probably don't remember this, but I've been using it in a lot of my in-game memes lately, which is Brave Star. Yeah, that's right, Brave Star. You remember it, right? Yeah? No, probably not. It was this weird, futuristic, robotic, horse riding, very, very likely weird. It was just bizarre, cowboy, futuristic thing. And that was close, wasn't it? Look at that. And that's a hell of a lucky escape. But it was basically, in that he had 3 different attributes: strength of the bear, speed of the puma, and eyes of the hawk. And he always used to shout them out in some weird kind of He-Man-esque way. And I've always remembered that because we're joking in gang about that, because when you've got snipers or when you've got tankers or whatever it may be, they need to kind of have a bit of a view of the map. And having a dropship is really your eyes of the hawk. Having a good tank in is, you see where I'm going with this, right? The analogy is just brilliant. I'm going to finish it, so, come on. The strength of the bear is very much your tanking support, your tanking backbone. There you go, there's a meme from Goonswarm, probably 2008. My industry backbone, pretty much it referred to taking out an enemy's, in this case, taking out an enemy's armor support would mean that you pretty much break that armored backbone, which is a pretty powerful thing to do. And I think the speed piece is really just about the infantry and scouting, etc., and getting in. So my meme works in my own little world, and I'm quite happy there. La 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 la. So basically, you're not going to tell me it's a crap meme. Post in the comments if you remember Brave Star. Do you remember Jason the Wheeled Warriors? Anyway, I could go on. And I tell you what the hell was Biker Mice for Mars about? Was I on drugs for all of that? I don't remember it being particularly sensible. Then again, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that route. So I think having this kind of almost multifaceted, I guess, Swiss Army knife of vehicles and fits and tactics really does, I think, fit together well. And we've always generally ignored the dropship because others do it. Evo and Judge, they're really good, dropship pilots, and I think we've always been quite secure that they would be doing it. And I think I've missed out somewhat. You don't get big kills. You're certainly not going to get mega kills in a dropship, but it's fun, actually. I've got to admit, it was like tanking was when 1.7 came in, which is quite fun. I would say dropships are like that now. Nothing's changed. It's just, I think, there's more challenge to the player to run a dropship now, particularly with redline railgun tanks, etc., when, they pretty much can two-shot you, and that's 500,000 ISK loss in each, dropship that falls. So there's quite a fair bit of, clenched buttocks going on, because it's quite a terrifying ride to think that you're going to lose 500,000 each freaking dropship. But anyway, I digress. I think there is something quite cool to be said about that. Now, in this case, we had Deeper's Fac also in the game playing a sniper role. He's even thailing it up, so yeah. But there was a long reason why. But anyway, so he was then really our eyes in the sky as well. So he was doing a fantastic job keeping, I think, their kind of more aggressive military infantry down. So there we go. I think really the reality of these kind of gangs is, you can have the best gang in the world, but if you're all running infantry, that does limit you somewhat. You can have 6 tanks in, that'll probably do a massive amount of damage, but you may not win the point. Maybe can't hack something, or maybe when you have that kind of scenario, by having the power in all one part of the spectrum, you lose the flexibility of a more kind of wider degree of fit. And I think certainly for Dust, I think you do gain benefit from having infantry, armor, and air support in all three. So your 3 dimensions, as I keep harping and blabbering on about, actually bring you incredible benefits. So don't disregard that, because I think there's real potential in having a much more enjoyable experience as well by having all of your 3 dimensions represented. Depends also on what game mode you're playing. We basically just ran constantly domination today, only because I think we just wanted to force a fight. Whenever we fought skirmish lately, I think we're seeing a lot of AFKers running skirmish, because it does feel that they basically just sit in the MCC or they don't take part at all. And they can get away with it because there's more points. But I just got the impression that AFKing is getting to be a bit more of a problem. Don't know, post in the comments if you agree with that. I couldn't tell you scientifically if it is, but it certainly seems to be, I think, getting that a little bit more kind of a prevalent, let's say. Anyway, so I think generally, drop shipping is well worth a go. I think it's hard as hell. I think I would recommend assault dropships only if you've got very deep pockets. But if you haven't, then use a militia dropship with a good gunner. So just get some of your mates, or just get one mate. So 2 of you can do this, and just run a pretty solid tanked fit. So you could run a Viper with all damage hardeners, all shield hardeners, or you could run a Gorgon with armor hardeners. You do have to keep ducking in and out for your cycled hardeners, but you'll be pretty tough. It will be tough to kill you very easily, and I think it's one of those skills that I just think every player should be able to run a suit of some kind. So maybe there should be a general, you've got to run infantry, you've got to, but you should also be able to drive a tank, an LEV, and a dropship. And dropship being the more tricky one, because most people just don't know how to do it. If you want to see absolute torture and pain and despair and just quite frankly a very difficult and troubling dropship video, check out Bam Havoc trying to fly dropships. He lost hundreds, and it's really funny. So go and check it. I think there's something quite tough about the dropship, but I would say it's probably one of the more needed ships in the game. I think it's more because it's interesting as well. And let's just think outside of the mechanics at the moment. I think, to be honest, the game needs more content of interest. So the infantry stuff is good, more suits is obviously really good, more weapons is even nice as well, but I think vehicles are what sell the sizzle of this game. Yes, you run your drop suits, etc., more than you would a vehicle most of the time, but when you look at publicity or marketing or what sells the sizzle of Dust, to me it has always been the vehicle link, because most Eve pilots and Eve players and people aware of Eve will play and rather respond, amicably to vehicles. So having much more kind of vehicle focused, I guess, content isn't a bad idea. So even if the dropship was more pushed towards, ferrying troops, which obviously it does, or if it was more pushed towards, when PvE or something more kind of wider comes in, then you need a dropship to get about. Otherwise, you'll be kind of driving quite long distances, thinking like PlanetSide 2 here. I think what sells the whole concept is people love to fly. And the whole concept of the dropships in Dust is very strong. Other games I've played have never come even close to doing a dropship style vehicle as well as CCP have got this dropship flying here. And I know a lot of people debate that, but let me just explain. When you look at things like the Galaxy and the Mosquito and other fightery things from PlanetSide 2, they're very weak, they feel very light, and their mechanics don't feel very good. Then this is a couple of tons of flying metal. It should feel sluggish but also quite powerful. And I say that the same with the vehicles as well. The tanks is that Dust, tanks and dropships are really good. They feel heavy, they feel tough, they feel weak as well. It's a very strange dichotomy, because the reality is they're quite good. And I think what got me into Dust quite categorically was how good the dropship looked, felt, and drove and rode or whatever. And it was just good fun. It was really nice having this feeling that I'm flying something that isn't a million miles away from an Eve frigate in orbit. And that's really the sizzle right there. So there we go. Hardly any tactics, I think, now. We just talked a load of bollocks about dropships. But anyway, so hopefully you enjoyed that. I think when it comes to challenging yourself in Dust, I'd say give something like this a go. It doesn't have to be dropships. It could even be tanks. If you've never done tanks before, give them a go. Try and mix up your fit and your play style a little. Because if you just run the same gun, the same suit over and over in the same match, in even the same squad, you're going to lose out on meeting and greeting and experiencing more of the game. So give it a try. Pick something you've never done before, maybe a LAV with a 20 gigajoule gun, and see how you get on. And post in the comments and tell me how you did. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.